All right, tech fans, buckle up because we've got a bombshell. Sources are saying the Trump administration is looking to rip up the CHIPS Act playbook and renegotiate the terms. Yes, you heard that right. The very act designed to bring semiconductor manufacturing back to the U.S. might be getting a makeover. But is this a strategic masterstroke or a ticking time bomb for the American chip industry? That's the million-dollar question we're tackling today, and trust me, the answer is anything but simple. We're talking about potentially derailing massive investments, throwing companies into turmoil, and jeopardizing America's tech future. This isn't just about politics. It's about the future of innovation, national security, and your wallet. We're going to dissect this news, break down the impacts, and give you the inside scoop on what's really going on behind the scenes. Stay with me, because this is one story you absolutely need to understand. So, what exactly is happening? Well, according to Reuters, the White House is seeking to renegotiate the awards handed out under the CHIPS and Science Act. This act, passed in 2022, was a massive effort to boost domestic semiconductor production with a cool $39 billion in subsidies. The goal was simple: reduce reliance on foreign chipmakers, especially those in Asia, and bring manufacturing back home. Now, the new administration is reviewing these projects, signaling potential delays in funding and a complete overhaul of the existing agreements. We're talking about major players like Intel, TSMC, Samsung, and Micron, all of whom have already committed billions to building and expanding facilities in the U.S. based on these promised subsidies. This isn't small potatoes. This is the foundation of America's future in the tech world, and it's potentially crumbling before our eyes. But why this sudden change of heart? Let's dig deeper. The reported reason? The Trump administration is apparently concerned about some of the conditions attached to these subsidies by the previous Biden administration. Specifically, they're taking issue with requirements like using unionized labor for construction and providing affordable childcare for factory workers. Now, on the surface, these might seem like reasonable social policies, but the new administration sees them as unnecessary burdens that could slow down progress and drive up costs. One source even mentioned frustration with companies that accepted CHIPS Act money and then announced significant overseas expansion plans, including in China. It's a classic case of "we're giving you money to build here, not there." Technical term alert. This highlights the complexities of supply chain localization versus globalized manufacturing, a constant tension in the semiconductor industry. This also brings up the concept of technology transfer, where U.S.-funded innovations could inadvertently benefit foreign competitors. Another technical term is geopolitical risk, which is heavily impacted by these decisions. Essentially, the administration is questioning whether these deals are truly serving America's best interests or simply lining the pockets of corporations while exporting jobs and technology. Let's talk about Intel. They announced a $300 million investment in a Chinese assembly and test facility after receiving a major award under the CHIPS Act. That's a red flag for anyone concerned about keeping chip manufacturing on American soil. Now, the CHIPS Act does allow for some investments in China, but this move raises serious questions about priorities. Is Intel truly committed to building in America, or are they just playing both sides? This isn't just about Intel, it's about setting a precedent. If companies can take U.S. subsidies and then invest heavily in China, what's stopping others from doing the same? We need to ask ourselves, is the CHIPS Act acting as intended, or is it being exploited? The Semiconductor Industry Association is already asking its members how the program could be improved. The key is to streamline requirements and achieve the goal of strengthening U.S. leadership in chip technology. This is a tough balancing act, but it's one we need to get right. Now, let's hear from one of the companies directly affected. GlobalWafers, a Taiwanese manufacturer, is set to receive $406 million in U.S. government grants for projects in Texas and Missouri. Their spokesperson, Leah Peng, said that the CHIPS program office told them that certain conditions are under review because they don't align with President Trump's executive orders and policies. It's important to note that GlobalWafers hasn't been directly notified of any changes, but the uncertainty is clearly there. They're currently set to receive subsidies only after achieving specific milestones later in 2025. This delay could have a ripple effect, impacting their expansion plans and potentially delaying the creation of new jobs. It's a stark reminder that these subsidies aren't just handouts. They're tied to real-world projects and commitments. Any disruption could have serious consequences for the entire semiconductor ecosystem. And what about TSMC and Samsung? These are two of the biggest chip makers in the world, and they're both heavily invested in building fabs in the U.S. TSMC has already received $1.5 billion in CHIPS Act money, while Samsung is slated to receive billions more. A TSMC spokesperson declined to comment on any possible changes to their agreement under Trump, but said the company is continuing to engage with the CHIPS program office. The stakes are incredibly high. These companies are betting big on the U.S., and any uncertainty surrounding the CHIPS Act could force them to reconsider their plans. Imagine if TSMC decided to scale back its Arizona project, or if Samsung delayed its Texas expansion. It would be a devastating blow to America's chip-making ambitions. We need to remember that these companies have options. They could easily shift their investments to other countries with more stable and predictable policies. The U.S. needs to prove that it's a reliable partner, not a fickle friend. The potential renegotiation is already causing political ripples. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand called the move absurd, emphasizing the law's importance for national security and urging legal action to prevent changes. Representative John Mannion, who co-authored New York's Green Chips Law, expressed concerns but said he would investigate further. This is a clear sign that this issue is far from settled. Democrats are likely to fight tooth and nail to protect the CHIPS Act, while Republicans may see this as an opportunity to reshape the program to better align with their priorities. It's going to be a political battleground, and the outcome is anyone's guess. What's clear is that the future of the CHIPS Act is now firmly in the hands of politicians, and that's never a comfortable place to be. We need to stay informed, engage with our elected officials, and make our voices heard. The future of American chipmaking depends on it. Okay, let's break down the conflicting viewpoints here. On one side, you have those who argue that the CHIPS Act needs to be streamlined and focused on pure economic competitiveness. They believe that social requirements like union labor and childcare are unnecessary burdens that will hinder progress. They might point to a paper by the American Enterprise Institute, arguing that excessive regulations stifle innovation and investment. Their argument is that we need to prioritize speed and efficiency to catch up with Asia's chipmaking giants. On the other side, you have those who believe that the CHIPS Act should be used to promote broader social goals. They argue that union labor ensures fair wages and safe working conditions, while affordable childcare helps working families. They might cite a study by the Economic Policy Institute showing that union jobs pay better and offer better benefits. Their argument is that we can't sacrifice social responsibility in the name of economic growth. So, which side is right? The truth is, there's no easy answer. It's a complex issue with valid points on both sides. The key is finding a balance that promotes both economic competitiveness and social well-being. So how can we verify these claims? We need to look at the data. Let's examine the construction costs of semiconductor fabs in the U.S. versus those in Asia. Are U.S. fabs significantly more expensive due to union labor and other requirements? We also need to analyze the impact of these requirements on project timelines. Are they causing delays and hindering progress? We can also compare the economic performance of states with strong labor protections versus those with weaker protections. Does a strong union presence correlate with slower economic growth? These are all verifiable questions that can help us determine the true impact of the CHIPS Act's conditions. We need to move beyond rhetoric and rely on data-driven analysis to make informed decisions. The future of American chipmaking is too important to be based on speculation and conjecture. The potential renegotiation of the CHIPS Act is creating a lot of uncertainty in the semiconductor industry. Companies are hesitant to make major investment decisions until they know what the future holds. This uncertainty could lead to delays in project timelines, reduced investment, and even job losses. The ripple effect could be felt throughout the entire tech ecosystem, impacting everything from smartphone production to artificial intelligence development. It's a precarious situation, and the stakes are incredibly high. The U.S. needs to send a clear and consistent message that it's committed to supporting the semiconductor industry. Otherwise, companies may start looking elsewhere, and America could lose its competitive edge. The world is watching, and our actions today will determine our future in the tech world. So, what's next? Well, it's likely that the Trump administration will conduct a thorough review of the CHIPS Act and its existing agreements. They may propose changes to the conditions attached to the subsidies, potentially removing or modifying requirements related to union labor and childcare. There could also be increased scrutiny of companies that are investing in China. The semiconductor industry will need to brace itself for a period of uncertainty and potential disruption. Companies need to be prepared to adapt to changing circumstances and engage with policymakers to ensure that their voices are heard. The future of the CHIPS Act is far from certain, but one thing is clear. It's going to be a wild ride. And remember, this isn't just about the semiconductor industry. It's about the future of American innovation, national security, and our place in the global tech landscape. The choices we make today will shape our tomorrow. All right, tech enthusiasts, That's the rundown on the CHIPS Act controversy. What do you think? Is the Trump administration right to renegotiate the terms? Or is this a dangerous move that could jeopardize America's chip-making future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of the latest tech news. We need to stay informed, engaged, and proactive. The future of American chipmaking is in our hands. And if you found this information useful, share this video with your friends and colleagues. Let's get the conversation going and make sure our voices are heard. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the curve.